Hi guys, you're on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. Let's talk about tree selection, particularly for a hunter. Often I see folks in different forums who are picking out a tree as if they're hunting the tree. Most of my audience are deer hunters, and we have to be attuned to the forest and the travel routes, and we have to pick a tree that is in the right location based on what we're reading. Now, I can't turn this into a complete demonstration about how to read deer sign, but when I hunt, wherever possible, I scout the area in advance and I will leave a paracord preset in a tree that was installed with an arborist throwball, or I will leave a floating anchor in the tree that on a tree I may have climbed using my Maverick pole and my hitch climbing method. If I'm in what we call a run and gun situation or a mobile situation, I will be bringing one or both of these. And if I needed to improvise without them, that is possible. But I urge you as hunters to do as much preseason scouting as you can and find the right tree. So I'm in a particular funnel right here and I am self-filming. I'm not going to climb, but I'm going to show you around and I'm going to pick out a tree and show you why I chose it. Okay, now starting with the camera pointing in the same direction, the forest here has got a pretty intense under canopy at about 6 feet off the ground. So I'm going to zoom in down there into the shadows. And I have been walking quite a long ways. And basically you don't have any kind of a shot opportunity, any kind of shooting lanes, because of the fact that there's this intense canopy at around 6 feet. It might be a lot of winter browse from the deer. But as I got to this location, I also came upon a couple of interesting features. This is a depression or a bowl. And on the right side of it, I'm finding a heavily traveled path. And on the left side of it, I'm finding good sign as well. I'll pan down further, and I am only about 20 yards from a large swamp. And that swamp is guarded by a deep bed of reeds. Now, sure, they might crawl out of there, but as I get close to this is where we look for, these natural barriers. This is where we look for trails. And I'm now looking right down a pretty significant trail. So what's my point? My point is this would be a great spot to be able to hit this trail. And now panning back to the right towards my tripod where we started. There's my tripod in my bag. I'd like to be able to shoot this location. And I am a little bit in an open area. That's why I stopped here to make this video. Basically, this is the only shot opportunity. Right here, I've got a little bit of a natural shooting lane. My tripod is only about 12 yards from me, and I can basically shoot a little bit behind me and a little bit on the other side. So this is how I pick out a tree. I'll find the shooting lane first, and then I'll look for a tree that's in it. I've got a very small window. So I'm going to move down a little bit to the left here. So this is it. This is about it. So here's opportunity one. By the way, I'm looking on that side because, number one, it gives me a wind advantage with the prevailing wind and allows me to shoot at a reasonable distance to the end of that swamp. So there's a couple of red oaks, and that's completely viable. I could get in the one on the left. There's no really good crotches at a good height, but I could hitch climb that. The one on the right, I can put a throw ball in that pretty easily, but it's a pretty good lean, and we don't really love to have that much lean. Closer to me, you see that crossing pine, and right behind it is a white oak, which are really good crotch in it, so that would be really easy to hit. But it's a little too close. The one trail goes right under this tree. But I don't have a lot of options. So heading back to my tripod, and I'm going to shoot just over it. Now, there, right behind my tripod, and about 20 yards from where I'm standing, is a white oak, and it's got a codominant trunk. It's not very high. It's only, if I climb that tree, put a throw ball through there, I'm only going to have my feet about 15, 16 feet off the ground, but I'll get a clear shot opportunity in a good windward direction and with my strong side because I'm right-handed where I am. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the tripod, the camera back on the tripod, and put a throw ball in that tree. Because once that's done, we can be in that tree in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so camera back on the tripod, grab I carry a high visibility bag with my throw ball in it, and if you watch my throw ball basics video, it showed you how I coil up I don't use a flecking bag, how I coil up my throw line so it's got a really minimal chance of getting tangled up. And this is one take here. If I don't hit this in one time, well then you're going to watch 2 throws or 3 throws. But I should be able to get that in a couple of throws. And it's to my advantage. If I were to toss that throw ball from this direction, well, there'd be some branches over it. And so it makes sense for me to throw it from the other way. And so I'm going to get down there and execute the throw real quick, and you can get a closer look at it in a moment. This is the tree. I've got to stand a little bit closer to it than I'd want to. I'd want to be back another 10 feet or so, but I've got this underbrush, so I have to execute a fairly accurate throw. But we got it. So let me see, I'm going to pull my ball back up because it's over a branch. I realize you can't quite see all of this, but my branch here is, my ball is good 5 feet away from the tree, but it's easier to work it from the far side. That's why I tossed from that direction, because I can just bring this up, and now it's back to me. I'm not showing off. I'm just telling you that, using a throw ball is an important skill. Just like, we're archers, right? We practice our archery. It's kind of like throwing horseshoes or throwing cornhole or throwing darts or anything that we've developed a skill for. I can't apologize for the fact that I developed some skill with the throw ball, and I do remember not being very good at it. But it's like anything, the more we practice, the better we get. And once we got it, it's like riding a bike. All right, let's go see that in the crotch. There's the throw ball. What I'm going to do is, if I can pull this off, with my other hand, and I suppose my teeth, I'll put it back up in the tree, just so you can get an idea. So the lighting's not great, but you get the idea. Pretty easy crotch to hit, and it's a nice straight white oak. And climbing that DSRT, right, we'd be up there in a second. My strong side takes us back, and there's my tripod right in the middle of what's a decent shooting lane. Okay, so here's my throw ball, and I'll just talk to you while I'm coiling it up. So the lesson here is, even though we've got the Maverick pole for sale, and I do use that on occasion, a throw ball is the best way to get a rope in a tree if you can, if your forest allows it. And, folks all say all the time, well, I wouldn't want to use a throw ball in the dark. Well, yeah, don't get me wrong, I've done it. But you also, how would I have identified this ideal shooting lane in the dark? It's pretty impossible. We don't want to be shining flashlights in the dark when we're going in for a hunt. We want to do as much preseason scouting as we can. But, if you're a person who likes to hunt the big woods and run and gun and read the sign and relocate in the middle of the day, I talked to a guy yesterday on the phone, and he does a lot of that where he relocates in the middle of the day. Well, then, these are good skills to have. These are excellent skills to have. You'll want to be able to relocate and quickly and efficiently get in a tree. And yeah, the throw ball wouldn't always be possible, and so for those situations you might want to consider bringing a Maverick pole as well as a throw ball. I gotta bend down for a second. That's how I ended keep an extra carabiner, just a little steel carabiner on my line to put this back together so that these things can't get separated. These ends can't get separated. See my video on Throwball basics. But this is a pretty handy way to store your Throwball. Here's a felt bag. And look, that fits in my hand. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions, and we'll be doing some more content on tree selection. Look for the dedicated playlist.